Hello, welcome to Strictly Money at the News Farm, where all voices matter. I'm Saijal Patel. The World Wide Web has certainly evolved from the days businesses would post pages for us to read. And now Web3, the next iteration of the internet, has a lot of people buzzing with excitement. But it's early days, and there is still a lot of debate as to how it evolves, how it should evolve, and who will be the winners and losers in this space. Joining me now to discuss all things Web3 is Bobby Del Rio. He works on Web3 investment teams around the world as an advisor, a consultant, and a brand ambassador. Bobby, great to have you on.
Hey.
So Bobby, walk us through Web3. I mean, we had Web1. I still remember the days of Web1. I'm aging myself. We're in Web2, and then we're going into Web3. How is Web3 different?
Okay, so Web1 is really like the first part of the internet where everybody was going on the little websites, and there'd just be like a graphic, and you just like type, and you're like, wow, like I'm typing on the computer, I'm so impressed, right? And then Web2 is really like the social media sort of ecosystem. It's more interactive, more e-commerce. So Web3 is more like blockchain, okay? So that's metaverse, it's DAOs, it's DeFi, it's NFTs, it's this, it's sort of like a decentralized ethos. So imagine internet without intermediaries, right? So it's envisioned as a sort of internet without governing bodies, which sort of may or may not come to pass.
Yeah.
But that's the idea.
Yeah, so my understanding, and I know a lot of people are talking about it because they're saying, look, this is going to be transformational because, as you said, there's a lot of content out there. It's user generated, right? But yet it's the Googles and the Facebook, now known as Meta, that owns it and actually monetize it. So am I correct? The idea is that it decentralizes this and it democratizes this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that, people are sort of tired of big companies that kind of like control your data and sort of dictate the pace of everything. And again, this is somewhat of a debate, but I think the promise of Web3, the promise of the blockchain, the promise of decentralization is that everything is peer-to-peer, right? So it's almost like that Bitcoin white paper, that 9-page document that surprisingly takes a long time to read, is really the foundation of this sort of like new envisioning of the world, where you can sort of like conduct business all around the world with different people at lightning speed without any intermediaries whatsoever.
So walk me through maybe an example. So say
Sure.
I create a blog in Web3. How would that work for me?
Right. So it's probably more helpful to think of the foundation of what a blockchain is, right? So a blockchain is essentially a ledger. So essentially you would copy data onto one block, right? And then there'll be a series of blocks all around the world on different computers where that data is essentially replicated, and it's immutable, so you cannot change it. So essentially you have multiple versions of that data all around the world, and they cannot be changed. So it really just reconceives the way that you view information and how information is processed around the world.
Okay. Then what are the limitations of Web3? And one of the things that I thought about is, you got your Googles and your Facebook that control Web2, and part of the reason is we want to move away from that. But what's to stop them from integrating Web3 and continuing to control?
Well, I mean, so their goal is to control Web3.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's gone on record as being like he wants Web2 to be the portal to Web3.
Okay.
Which is interesting and could materialize, but also upsets a lot of people. So look, the challenge is that a world without intermediaries sounds great, but probably isn't possible. And in fact, there's a debate that some of the larger Web3 blockchain organizations are the intermediaries. So I don't know, like, do you think that a world without Facebook is better if you actually have a Coinbase instead, which is one of the biggest exchanges in the world? So for me, I'm maybe somewhat bold in what I think, but I just believe that decentralization and immutability is somewhat of a myth. And I think the future is going to be a compromise between Web2 and Web3.
Okay, we have about 20 seconds to the break.
Yeah.
So if you think about one limitation, what would it be?
For Web3?
Yeah, what do they have to get over?
Well, I mean, if you send money to the wrong wallet, you lose your money. And there's no way to get it back. So that's a big limitation.
That's a big limitation. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll continue this conversation. A lot more to unpack here. Bobby, we've been talking about Web3, and now that we've established what it is, how does cryptocurrency fit into this? And maybe just talk about, the ecosystem surrounding Web3.
Yeah, well, okay, so cryptocurrency is essentially a digital currency, like working alongside blockchain technology, right? So it's this idea that you can use these blockchains and you can essentially travel money around the world with lightning speed. Now, with that said, different blockchains sort of have different speeds, but there's thousands of them. So there's so many options.
Okay, but there are various, we know there's like 9,000 cryptocurrencies, right? What are the ones that are associated with Web3 that you're paying attention to?
So Ethereum is the most used, right?
Okay.
So there's sort of the most NFTs, there's the most applications, there's ETH is pretty much what you use as like a standard, but it's not that fast relative to some of the other blockchains. Like you've got like Solana, you've got Polygon, you've got Avalanche. There's quite a lot that are a lot faster. So that's kind of set up ETH to do this thing called the merge, which has been highly anticipated, but delayed twice, which I believe the latest.
With Ethereum.
Yes, yeah. Ethereum, right? Okay. So they want to finally do this 2.0, this merge, I think in August, but it should have been done by now, so we'll see what happens. But essentially, that's going to make the network way faster. And to me, that signifies that they're very, very worried about the competition, because there's many, many cryptos like way faster than they are. Mm-hmm. Also, they're segueing from proof of work to proof of stake, right? Yeah. And so this is vitally important to the crypto ecosystem, because proof of work is really being attacked in legislation as antiquated and ecologically inefficient.
Okay.
So I presume...
And that's Bitcoin. Bitcoin's tied to proof of work, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So just to explain the difference, proof of work is essentially you're using a series of computer problems to mine your crypto. And essentially what that ends up leading to is that whoever has more computing power is more able to sort of win that competition. So people will you have lots and lots and lots of computers, and that uses lots and lots and lots of energy. So they want to segue to a new system, which a lot of people are already doing, called proof of stake, where it's somewhat complex, but essentially what you're doing is, instead of you having a computer power competition, it's more democratic. You're essentially electing like a judge to sort of decide and validate the output. Yeah, so it just uses way, way, way less computer power.
So Bobby, why is the speed part so important in this ecosystem?
Well, because you have people all around the world. Some want to transact billions of dollars. And so, for example, have you heard of the Bored Apes?
No.
Okay. So the Bored Apes are like the biggest NFT project in the world.
Okay.
And they just launched their own metaverse. So Yuga Labs owns Bored Apes, as well as some other NFT collections, and they have their own metaverse called Other Side. And so they just had a land sale. So essentially, they're selling plots of land in the metaverse, which is like a digital ecosystem, and they ended up crashing Ethereum. So gas fees went from, I don't know, maybe $50, $100 to $5,000, because so many people wanted to use it at the same time, and you had to use ETH to do it. So, ETH made a lot of money, but it also crashed the system, and so they ended up shifting to Polygon later. So what does it mean? Well, if you have like a blockchain that it's way slower, gas fees are way higher, and then less transactions get done, right?
Okay.
So you want to create like a sort of more efficient system where as much data as possible can be transferred.
All right.
Yeah.
We have about a minute.
Sure.
You talked about metaverse.
Yeah.
How does metaverse fit into this Web3 ecosystem?
Yeah. So there's all these different buzzwords, but they're all actually very different and not too difficult to understand, right? So metaverse is really just like a digital ecosystem. So you can use AR, like augmented reality, or VR, virtual reality. My view is that is going to be a niche part of it, because I actually think that out, it's essentially a digital ecosystem where you want as many people as possible to participate in it. So I think they're still building it out to figure out what exactly it is, but essentially it's this like new world where you can like, watch a movie or hang out with your friends or play video games or go to a concert or shop. Like anything that you can do in the real world, you can do in the digital world, in the metaverse.
Oh, okay. And in terms of Web3, is it here or is it still really evolving? Like, are we able to use it now?
It's here.
It's here.
It's here right now.
All right. We're gonna talk about more on that then,
right.
and how people can make money from Web3. We'll be right back.